Hey there, and thanks for tuning in to our third Coffee and Conversation in our 6-week series. Today's topic is Stuck at Home, Making Time for Me. So I have to tell you guys, we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and depending on where we live in the world, it can really range from mildly serious to incredibly serious, and it can be really terrifying. But instead of giving into fear and to the panic, we have to do our best to stay calm and to stay safe. We have to keep ourselves informed. We have to do, what the guidelines say, like wash our hands and practice social distancing. And this is literally just a time where staying home can save lives. So, since it's really the best thing that we can do right now, why not use this time to go inwards and explore ourselves? So I think we really need to kind of carpe diem and seize the day by using this as an opportunity for more self care and more self reflection. And just really spend the time relaxing and making quality time for ourselves and exploring and learning more about who we are and how we nourish ourselves. So today's discussion is really going to explore, what do people mean when we say the term self-care, right? Like, what is it, and is it even really possible? So I'll share with you some suggestions and some tips to help you prioritize your own self-care. I'm also really curious to hear how some of you are taking care of yourselves, because if someone out there has the magic potion and has figured out how to make a sufficient amount of time for your own self, I'd really like to know it. And as usual, we'll close out today with some resources that are available. So how many of you have heard of the term self-care, right? Or if you, when you heard it, you kind of started to roll your eyes. I mean, I had to be honest. This is just one of those things that I don't prioritize. And when I hear the term, it kind of makes me cringe because I've just never really found a way to make it work for myself. But if you're anything like me and you share some of those thoughts, when I first started hearing about this term self-care, I pictured some of the things that you see here, right? Like a grown man sharing a few extra moments to blow dry his and brush his beard after a nice, long, relaxing soak in the tub. Nothing wrong with it, but seems like it would be a little bit time consuming, right? So I was like, well, maybe somebody does that. And then I kind of envisioned like an expensive day at the spa, getting pampered. And I thought, one, who has money for that? And two, who has the time for that? And sometimes when I hear it, I picture like a Zen Buddha master just sitting on hours in the yoga position, meditating on a rock or something. And I also think of long massages. And because I was really thinking of self-care this way, I immediately dismissed it and went about my day because I just didn't think I would have time to make this happen. But um, self-care isn't all that. In fact, it's really just any activity that we do or deliberately don't do in order to take care of our mental, our physical, and our emotional health. And so I'll say that one more time because it's really that simple. It's any activity that you intentionally do to take care of yourself. So that really flipped a switch for me, and I began to see self-care as some of the things that you see pictured here, like quitting a job that doesn't bring me joy, or saying no to people, or simply just taking things away from my to-do list, right? I think of this as the things that you allow yourself to stop doing, maybe even make a mental to not do list or to don't list, right? Just to kind of remind yourself. Because when you cut out some mindless stuff or negative people, you just really feel better. And that's the entire purpose of self-care. I also began to consider self-care as taking a long drive in the car, which I've come accustomed to and quite enjoy on a sunny day, or singing, or like screaming, to one of my favorite songs, or taking a nap, or snuggling with one of my pets, right? Really, self-care is simply a way that you recharge yourself, and it needs to work for you, because you're the one who's going to do it and find it rewarding. Now here's a more formal look at what self-care looks like. This is a self-care wheel. Some of you may have seen this before, maybe you haven't. What I like about it is really just a gentle reminder of all the ways and the components that we need to take care of in order to maintain a total body wellness. So you can see here that there's various dimensions of physical, emotional, spiritual, personal, professional, and psychological. And under each, you can see that there's some suggestions on how to maintain balance and overall wellness in each of those areas, so that you can really be the best version of you and operate with a full battery. So I'll pause here just for a moment to allow you to take a minute to look this over, because there's some pretty good suggestions in there. Okay, so now that we know what self-care is and what it isn't, let's really dig into some of the ways that we can show ourselves some love, right? So first, disconnect from the noise, whether it's the news or social media or emails. We need to really stop consuming excessive content that leads to fear and stress and anxiety. There's really a fine line with staying informed and giving in to the ego that loves drama. So disconnect, put your phone away, create some calm and some peaceful headspace free of panic. Next, put on a cozy playlist. Set the mood for your self care staycation. I personally enjoy the free version of Pandora, and when I hear a good song, I give it a thumbs up, and Pandora keeps it coming. So others may prefer to put on some relaxing spa music or meditation music. It doesn't really matter what you like, just know that music is powerful. So make a playlist and use it. Here's one that I bet some of you will probably roll your eyes at. Journal, right? Believe it or not, journaling is a self-care habit that does wonders for helping people work through their thoughts and emotions, which can be incredibly helpful during times like this. So just remember that all your feelings are valid and it's really okay to express them. And a journal is a safe space for you to express how you're feeling. You can even try a guided journal with some prompts to help yourself get started. Sometimes doing a gratitude journal daily will help you shift from fear to appreciation and love. So if you spend just a few minutes each day journaling about the things that you're grateful for, your mindset and your life will really change for the better. Next, take a class. Use this free time to learn something new. Some places are offering free online classes that I've seen, so check out those opportunities as a fun way to explore your creativity. Oh boy, up next is clean your space. So whoever thought that cleaning was a self-care technique, right? Probably none of us, but think about this. When the outside world is feeling out of control, like it kind of does right now, we need to focus on the things that we can control. You can control how your space feels. So if your space is tidy and fresh, your mind will feel that way as well. Next, meditate. The best thing that you can do to calm your mind and anxiety is to meditate. So even if the outside world is crazy and you can you can really work to stay grounded and peaceful in your inner world. And you can start by just closing your eyes for a few minutes and breathing. Maybe you can practice deep breathing, some guided meditations, or use some calming music throughout your practice. But you can become more aware of your repetitive thoughts when you meditate. And this really helps you to get rid of, you know, the things, the irrational worries that are in your mind. And it will really help you recenter yourself. So it feels really difficult. I think meditating is hard for a lot of people because it's hard to get started in the beginning. But when you practice it over and over, it gets easier for you. And then I think you'll notice the benefits a little bit more. So don't give up too soon. Other things that you can do are exercise at home. You can find a new routine that's fun to do. You can do some reading. You can get lost in a really good book. I mean, it can be practical or impractical. It really doesn't matter as long as you enjoy it. Reading is a great way to explore new places while we're stuck at home, or a great way to learn new things from the comfort and safety of our own houses. And this includes things like audiobooks too, which is a really good way to multitask. If you're anything like me, you'd like that. So you can listen to the book while you're doing other things, which is super productive. Now, this is also a great time that we're kind of stuck at home, right? To practice hobbies or to do something creative, right? We dedicate some of our staycation to doing something that we find fun and interesting. And our hobbies are usually some of the things that we push to the bottom of our priority list, right? But they actually do so much for our happiness. So don't be afraid to get into an old hobby, or start something, some creative activity. I think this one's funny. So I think a lot of people joke about having a Netflix binge, right? Like there's some sort of like stigma associated with it. But it's really all about perspective when you think about it. I mean, that's how I kind of justify it. But so many of us consider it a binge to be a bad thing, but I consider it to be a mindless moment, right? So I say indulge and watch some feel good TV. Watch something that makes you laugh or something that makes you feel good. I personally enjoy watching stand up comedians because it's just a time for me to not think about anything else and just have a good time. Spend some time cooking at home. I mean, when we cook and try new recipes or just cook something that we really enjoy, it's another form of expressing our creativity. And believe it or not, it can be really therapeutic and rewarding. Finally, this may seem a little bit cheesy, but follow your heart and really do whatever feels good to you. Um, what if that was doing nothing, right? What would that look like? So don't feel obligated to fill your days. Just listen to your heart and don't feel forced or pressured to do anything. This is our time to really explore ourselves, and you can do whatever you want with this time at home. So this slide might seem a little bit random, but I promise I put it in for a reason. For those of you who don't know, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So basically how it works is humans need all their basic needs met, like food and water, shelter, in order to feel safe and secure. And then those are the building blocks to evolving as an emotional being to the point where we can reach the top and achieve our fullest human potential. So in this picture, you'll notice that there are circles and arrows saying we are here, right? This pandemic and the quarantine has all of us really focused on our basic needs in order to survive. So most of us, if not all of us, are nowhere near the top of self-actualization. So now, like the point here really is don't beat yourself up if you're feeling like you can't be all you want to be right now. That's a really normal feeling because there's so many unknowns out there that are threatening our ability to feel safe and secure. So when we're talking about self-care and meeting some of our basic needs, that this is why it's so important. So now I just want each of you to kind of pause and think about some ways that you take care of yourself. Maybe ask yourself, is there something I could do differently? Is there a small practice that I can start today? Is there an intentional time in my schedule that I'm going to pick up a book that's been sitting on the bedside for a while? Is there a walk I could take? Can I say yes to something today, right? Just whatever it is that you do to keep yourself well. As usual, I'll usually wrap these coffee and conversations up with some available resources, which by now I hope everyone knows that Erie County is highly saturated with formal services and supports for adults and children in need. So if you find yourself struggling, please reach out. 211 through United Way is a great place to start for any type of support you may need. If they don't know, they'll find someone who does. Here I have listed some self-care specific resources for you, but you really can surf the web and find just about anything that you think would work for you. There's a lot of free apps right now and YouTube videos on meditation and mindfulness or guided imagery, and even free exercise routines. So make sure you check those out and take advantage of those opportunities to try something new. Also, consider taking a look at the university at Buffalo's School of Social Work. They have a self-care starter kit for some additional self-care resources if this is something you want to kind of dig into and learn more about. And lastly, just remember that self-care is not being selfish. You can't help others and you can't flourish if you're not trying to, if you're trying to operate like on an empty on empty. So make sure that you make time for you and that you don't feel bad about it. Thank you all for listening.